Hello my friends, firstly let's go for the military map updates, and now we have the movement in the Bakhmut city and Russia started to push from the north side again. Today they've took a couple of the quarters of the residential area. Before they were blocked in this area, and as I say to you, they were without the movement for 3 days. The gray zone moved a little bit forward, but Russia is still unable to capture Kromove, which is the major crossroad in that area. If Russia moves to Kromove, capturing this tiny little village, they will cut supplies for Ukrainian army. In that case, Ukrainians would be forced to leave the Bakhmut city without major resistance. And Russia gave up all of the attempts to encircle the Bakhmut city. They're still unable to take Ivanivska or even Chasiv Yar, and on the north they move straight to the west. Because of the Ukrainian defense lines, as you can see, Russia cannot do this maneuver, this and this, to encircle our group in that area. Russians dispersed their forces before trying to protect the flanks from the possible Ukrainian counterattack, but they were out of the resources, so Wagner's called for the regular Russian army forces. And yes, they came, they reinforced these and these areas, but still those are not enough for the successful encirclement of the Ukrainian forces in the Bakhmut. And now they're focused to push Ukrainian forces out from the Bakhmut city, so their main vectors are in the city directly. They use the tactics of the mid waves, we call them, instead of artillery. Mostly nowadays they use infantry and they have severe losses. As for Ukraine, we protect our guys at first. The human life matters for the Ukrainian side. That is why we cannot afford lots of the losses in the Bakhmut city. And that's why the Ukrainian army is forced to change the position, going out of the city little by little. As I said to you before, I got the information from unreliable resource, that the Ukrainian army got the order to withdraw from the Bakhmut city, but they just do it slowly. Unlike Russian army that left Kherson in a matter of hours. And this is the tactical map of the city. This is the most tricky vector over here because it's directly pointed to Kromove, but Russia is stuck on the north in this area. However, they moved towards the residential area from this side, and they moved recently towards this side, but haven't crossed the railroad in this south area. Yes, Russia is controlling the most part of the city, but Ukrainians also keep tight in the city, controlling, I wouldn't say the small part, it is quite a large part of the city. And there are no any signs that Bakhmut fails in the nearby future. We have the news from Egypt. They agreed to supply the artillery shells to Ukrainian army. Before, according to the leaked information, there were some negotiations between Egypt and Russia to supply the rockets to the Russian Federation. So it seems like Egypt doesn't care where to supply, but they need to supply. And I'm happy that finally it is the Ukraine to receive those supplies. But Russia supplies their Sukhoi Su-35 fighter jets to Iran. 3 of those fighter jets were spotted today in Iranian skies, and totally Iran may receive around 60 of those airplanes. Great exchange. Iran supplied the dirt cheap drones to Russia, and Russia supplied the very sophisticated jets. Putin today visited the occupied territories by the Russia, or not today, because in his speech he says that soon it will be the Easter blah blah blah, but Easter was already on Sunday, and the time I'm recording this video is Tuesday, so quite a long time ago. I got the information that he visited the place around 1 week ago. And based on those photos, he was at Arbatska Strelka, we call it, this part of the land in Sheslive village, which is 130 kilometers away from the front lines. Well, it's far for the standard HIMARS rockets, but we have the gliding ammunition for that, and the range of it is 150 kilometers, plus we have Tochka U. But still we haven't targeted the Russian leader, because I guess our allies are against that stuff, because it may lead to unforeseen circumstances. So I may say that Vladimir Putin is the time traveler. He went back by several days to greet the Russian soldiers near to Crimea. Ukrainian officials continue to say about the counteroffensive, and now they say that we will launch counteroffensive then ready. Obviously, it's truth. You don't need to launch the counteroffensive just for it to be. It should be successful and Ukrainian army should be ready for it. So I think it was not proper to advertise it few months before it starts. But nevertheless, I expect a successful mission from the Ukrainian side. The deputy of the defense minister of the United States, Colin Cole, says that we need around 1.5 years to supply F-16s to Ukrainian army. I believe that it will be 3 times faster than that in case of the positive decision will be agreed on the next Ramstein meeting that will be in just 3 days. And Ukraine has great expectations on that meeting. According to the British intelligence, Russians thrown all of the forces to the Bakhmut city, taking reinforcements from other places, for example from Avdiivka. It means that mighty Russian army is unable to perform 2 tasks simultaneously. I remember that before the war, the Western analytics said that Russia is able to perform simultaneously 2 wars in two different countries. But now they are struggling to capture a single city for many months. Probably Ukraine looked at the Russian rights restriction and now we have our own restriction. This stuff, actually I don't have it, this called the military ticket. To get it, you need to serve in the Ukrainian army, but also even without the service they can give you this military ticket, but for that you need to go and pass the medical and everything, and after that you will be issued with that document. With this document they may call you to army at any time. So in Ukraine, without it you cannot study, you cannot get the job, you cannot marry, you cannot divorce. So yes, I'm married and it seems like we are together forever. Plus, some of the Ukrainian hospitals refuse to take care about the patients without those military tickets. I think that there are way too many restrictions and basically they force the man population to just go into the army because we have severe losses in our army and our army needs soldiers. By the time I went to the military branch just at the beginning of the war, no one needed anyone. There were queues in the military branches, but now no one wants to serve. Basically, all of the volunteers who applied there, they are already fighting. Unfortunately, in that case, we are very close to Russia limiting the constitutional rights without the introduction of the special law. Yes, Ukraine officially still haven't declared the war state. We have the special military regime applied with some restrictions and martial law was applied, but it was done against the constitution, let's say. And our government says that we should go and fight all of the Ukrainian men, but at the same time they hide their own children from the military, mostly in United States, London, Spain and Dubai. And also there are some talks from the president's office that they may find the Ukrainian citizens through this application. This is the database for every citizen, it's called DIA. And we have all of our documents over there, the passport, the driving license, the special tax number, other documents, the documents for the cars, and many more. Plus we have the special military document, and you know, people may receive the conscripts just by message. It was done recently in the Russian Federation. Well, the guys who are responsible for this application, they say that they are not working on that stuff, but you know, there are some talks about this introduction. And as for Ukrainian people in general, according to statistics, almost 90% support the returning of the Ukrainian territory back to Ukraine using the military force, but as I said to you, there are no any queues to the military branches right now. And the same you may say for me, I'm not in Ukrainian military. Basically, I haven't got any experience, and with 99.9% I would have been killed already. If they had taken me, then I asked at the beginning of this war. But still, I do what I can on my channel to support Ukraine. Again, Russia launched the attack on Slaviansk. This time they used the Shahed drones together with S-300 rockets. They modified the ground-to-air missiles into ground-to-ground missiles, and that is how they have the middle-range ballistic missiles. Foreign policy says that the first 24 hours would be critical for the Ukrainian counterattack. If there will be the panic in the Russian command and between the Russian soldiers, the counterattack will be successful. So it's very important for Ukraine to perform a blitzkrieg mission. But I think that the counterattack might be slow because Russia still was able to build lots of the defense lines and trenches. Maybe there is some interesting scenario that we don't know about. And Russia started the evacuation of civilians in that area in the villages between Tokmak and Vasilivka. We have this information from some of the locals, but it is hard to confirm it. And about the Patriot systems, as I promised to you, after the Easter we obtained everything and we just need up to 2 weeks to deploy them fully at the particular areas where Ukraine will start the counteroffensive. Russia has the superiority in aviation, that is why those systems are critical to protect the skies. Macron got his own opinion on the war in Ukraine and he wants to introduce his own peace plan based partially on the China peace plan. Bloomberg says that it may start to work during this summer. However, Russia officially said that they do not know anything about the future negotiations or any kind of the plans from Macron. Politica says that there could be the other revolution or so-called Maidan in Ukraine after the war is over. Because, as I say to you, our government is quite corrupt. And President Zelensky himself, he got the rating up to 11% before the start of the war. Now he got 80 with something, basically because he haven't left the Kyiv and was able to negotiate with our allies the military help to Ukraine. But, as Politica says, there are lots of the questions from people to government. First of all, the betrayal that happened on the south part of Ukraine, I told you about it many times. Russia was able to enter freely from Crimea and just Azov soldiers provided the huge resistance and they kept the vast part of the Russian army for a long time in Mariupol. And that saved the other parts of Ukraine from occupation, including Kyiv. So, people will ask questions and soldiers will ask questions. The Ukrainian army started to blow up the buildings, then they retreat from them, so Russia might use those buildings to cover their infantry and we just leave them deserted land. It's the first time I see it. Usually Russia destroys the buildings ahead of us. Our soldiers have finished the training in Sweden and the soldiers of the Swedish army greeted our soldiers on the way out from the military camp. It's the great honor, the same was seen in the United Kingdom. Well, my friends, as you can see, for today there are not many news, everything is more or less calm, but it means that soon there are gonna be some sort of the events that will take our attention fully. And now please press the like to this video, and if you want to support my job, you may find the links in the video description just below. You may also support me on Patreon or on the sponsorship of this YouTube channel. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.